Welcome to the Hunting Beast Report, a live video podcast with Dan Infalt and host Jeremy Gillespie.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Stealth Outdoors. The off-season's a great time to rehab your gear, so head on over to Stealth Outdoors at www.stealthoutdoors.com to pick up some climbing stick wraps, cam buckle covers, platform cable wraps, or stealth strip rolls for all of your miscellaneous silencing needs. Today's show is also made possible by Hunting Beast Gear, innovators in mobile hunting gear and the designers of the Beast Sticks and Beast Stand. Check out the latest products at www.huntingbeastgear.com. And now, on to the podcast. All right, we're live on Wednesday instead of Tuesday. Apologize to everyone. I was coughing my lungs out. I'll probably cough them out a little bit today. So Dan was gracious enough to grant me an extra day to recover. So thanks for that, Dan.
No problem.
Ashley, let's see if we can hear you today.
Can you hear me?
Oh my God, we can hear you. So speaking of Ashley, we're going to talk about CJ Alexander, but before we do that, Ashley, I noticed you got out for your first hunt recently. So give us a rundown. How'd that go for you?
It wasn't the most peaceful hunt I've ever had in my life. I went out and climbed up in the tree. From the time I climbed up in the tree, there was somebody shooting, and they were literally right across the hollow from me. So that was fun. And they had a pause just enough for you to get comfortable and be like, oh, they're done shooting. And then you get comfortable, and then they start shooting again, and you jump. So that was fun. But I got to watch 25 squirrels just running around. And if I was a better shot, I might have tried to shoot at one. But I feel like that's a waste of an arrow and a broadhead at the position that I'm at. I don't think I'm that good of a marksman. So then I sat there for a little bit longer. There were people screaming, and then all of a sudden 2 people started walking down the path, and I noticed one of them had a gun, and I was like, hey, I'm up here just so you don't shoot me because I know you're squirrel hunting. And they had a dog with them, and so the dog done tore down the hollow, and she likes to fight deer, so any of my chances were pretty much toast at that point. And they were like, we're gonna turn around so we don't ruin it. And I'm like, I'm getting down, go ahead. Yeah. I appreciate it, but the dog kind of ruined it. So I'm hoping to get out again soon. I was gonna go out tonight, but I had a real bad migraine earlier today, so I didn't do that. Justin went out for a little bit. He hasn't had too much luck. Our thing is access. So there's a lot of private that's connected to where we hunt, and that's where we're seeing all of the deer right now is on the private, and there's no trace of them on the public. So we're trying to pinpoint if they're crossing, where they're crossing, when they're crossing, and trying to figure all that out because it's not the same places that they were last year at all.
Adapt, right?
Yep.
And then, Dan, you went on a little road trip recently. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I've been hunting like a madman. That's why I'm not getting any videos up. I'm getting a lot of hell from people. Trying, yeah. But I just hunt just about every day. I just got into hunting now. Yeah, I went to Kentucky. I was contacted by a couple guys, a sergeant and a corporal, and they asked me if I'd come down and do a teach to hunt thing with some vets and some active military people. And they were going to have an application process and take 15 guys. And I said, yeah. I brought a prime bow to give away. And I did a little seminar on how they bed in hills and how they travel and how to hunt them. And then took them out in the woods, showed them, and just spent a few days with them and listened to their stories and stuff. It was pretty touching. I mean, I hunted every day, but I was really there for the vets. I think I only could have shot one doe the whole time I was there. The pressure was insane at Fort Knox. There's some big bucks there because they got a really big area that you can't hunt. Most people get them on the rut when they come running out, chasing does and stuff. But it's like everybody down there, you know, like in Wisconsin, if you go into hill country, it's like most people don't seem to know how hills work and how to hunt them. They think you just hunt field edges, you hunt acorn flats, you hunt them point or whatever. But when I got down to Kentucky, it wasn't like, even Ohio and even Iowa's like that. But when I got down to Kentucky in that fort, I was pretty surprised. Those people really knew their hills, because every place you went to a thermal hub, there'd be a camera right in the hub, right where it should be. Every time you went up on like a crow's foot, there'd be a camera, sometimes 2 or 3 different cameras from different people in the same spot. And it seemed like everybody was hunting the sign that was where you'd expect to see a big buck. So I was down there with Eric, and we quickly gravitated to finding the overlooked stuff, the subtle leeward sides, the subtle benches, the subtle draws and thermal hubs that were real small, the ones that were missed. Like, for example, one of the places I ended up in the last hunt I did, I knew there was something good on this property, and there's a bunch of people hunting it from a bunch of different directions in this particular unit. And I figured that, number one, you have to be back to your truck and check, and you got to punch out on your phone by 1 hour exactly after closing, which is not an easy task. If you pull a stand down, even if you're next to the road, it can take you half an hour to get to the truck. So pulling the stand out and coming out, getting out and being to your truck in an hour meant guys weren't getting very far back. Now, some guys are leaving stands out there, but they're okay, because then you know where they're at. It's the mobile guys I'm worried about, and there were a lot of guys saddle hunting and such. But so I was trying to either get further than these guys and just run back to the truck down these hills or whatever, or find some access out, or find the stuff they were missing. And one of the spots was like every draw had somebody who was going up and setting up in the hubs, and all the crow's feet on the tops that you get to easy were being set up. And I mean, Eric went way to the back, ran at the cameras. Some other guys went up there, and they're all going in typically the same way. But what I noticed was there's one area, like at the end of this unit, where they had a bunch of military bases, and they had a wall along the road where you couldn't park for about, let's say 400, 500 yards. And then there was like a parking area at the end that kind of put everybody up this draw. Some would go up in the tops, some would go up the draws. And there was a couple good draws behind that wall. So I went up those draws, and then I didn't find any sign, and I ran into a whole bunch of deer, but it was the end of the hunt. I didn't get anything. I pretty much spooked everything. But it was really about finding those deer where nobody was, looking, figuring out the subtle areas where people weren't going, kind of thing. But I'd definitely go back, but if I did, I'd probably go around rut. Another thing was the areas like open and close continuously. They might open this area for a few weeks, and then they open this area and close that area. And it seemed like these deer would kind of get into those typical areas, but then 2 days after being open, people have pushed them all out of there, and they're back into the other closed zone, and they bounce back and forth, and they kind of learn that over time to just bump out. And getting into those units first, I think, is a good thing. Like when they've been closed for a month or something, jumping in there day one. But with that said, in 5 days, I could have killed one doe. So
yeah, pretty tough sledding then, huh?
Yeah.
And then how was you said you talked about it a little bit, but how was the experience meeting the vets? And was the pressure, you talked about pressure, was that just from the event that they were holding, or is there pressure like that all the time from what you could tell?
Oh, it was pressure all the time. I mean, that the people that were in that event, I mean, I saw two of the guys while I was out hunting on one hunt. Otherwise, I didn't see any of them.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, we're like an hour and a half apart where we're hunting. When we'd enter the gate of this place where me and Eric, the units we were picking, it was like an hour drive after we entered. it's huge. And, you can't drive straight across either because you got to drive around that bombing zone that they have in the middle where they don't allow any hunting, but the vets, they were really cool. And so there were some active duty guys, some vets. We gave some prizes at the end, and a guy that was active duty who never bow hunted before won a tree stand, and then he won the bow, and everybody was happy as hell for him.
That's
because
awesome.
he won everything he needed.
Yeah.
Somebody had borrowed him a bow for the event, and that was pretty cool. But it was. I took one of the guys out hunting one day. As a matter of fact, the guy that won the stuff, I took him out one day and hunted with him. I put him in a great spot. He saw nothing.
Yeah.
But it looked good.
Yeah.
I talked to a lot of these guys one-on-one, and it was pretty touching, the things that they had gone through. And it just, it makes you feel like the problems in our lives are so minuscule, when you hear about them, their friends getting blown up right next to them and stuff. And, and some of them had really severe burns you could see on their bodies and stuff. And I mean, the things those people go through, so that guys like you and me don't have to be in the military, so that we can live free, so our families can be free and be safe. We owe them a huge debt of gratitude, just talking to those guys and thinking about what's going on in America right now and how we're, bringing in all these illegal aliens and housing them and paying their rent and everything else, while they're taking advantage of our country, while there's vets that watch their buddies die in front of them living on our streets. I mean, that's just insanity to me. No veteran that fought in war should ever be homeless.
Crazy times we're living in.
Yeah, it is.
On a little more positive note, I did a little guiding myself this weekend. So it was the Antelope rifle opener. It always opens the weekend of Columbus Day. Montana's got kind of weird date setting, so it's never like the 1st of October. It's always, I think it's the second Saturday, whatever the Saturday is before Columbus Day. Anyways, we got on some antelope right away on public land, and probably could have had one down with a half hour of the opener, but it got skylined, and shooting with a rifle on the opener skylined is a bad idea and a no. So we didn't shoot, and ended up running into a big group the next day. And hold on, let me get the screen here if I can do this. There we go. So that's Shauna, my girlfriend. Ended up getting a pretty nice antelope buck on Sunday, so the second day of the season. So that was fun. She's
nice.
Yeah. Not
the antelope ain't bad either.
People, it's funny because before I moved out here, I'd never eaten it. And I heard literally about a 50-50 split of people saying worst thing I've ever eaten or my favorite game meat. And I fall distinctly in my favorite game meat. So if you've never had it, from what I can gather now, the people that have said it's the worst, I saw a couple guys over the weekend doing this. It was pretty warm. It was like 30 degrees in the morning, but by the afternoon, it was almost 70. And you see guys driving around all day with antelope in the back of their truck. They're gutted, but they're
Yummy.
they're not shaded. They're just sitting out. They've been driving them around for 3 or 4 hours, and then they say they taste bad. So I've also heard, and I don't know if there's any truth to this, but the hair is kind of oily. So people say if you get hair on the meat, that makes them taste bad. All I know is the ones that I've got or that we've got together is I always have a cooler full of ice. I quarter them right there. I try to keep all the hide off it, and I put them on ice right away. I've never had a bad one. So I've had ones that people say too,
That's the same thing with bear.
Yeah. People say if they run hard, then they're bad too. I shot one bow hunting. I watched another buck run it for a mile. They were running. It ran it for a mile. Happened to run it right by me. I shot it, and then it ran another couple hundred yards after that before it died. That one tasted fine too. So I don't know. Small sample size. I've only had 5 or 6 of them, but they've all been good. But anyways, that's the getting everybody caught up. What we're here to talk about today, and the thumbnail, and let me get that pulled up, is Mr. Alexander. Dan, well, I'm pulling up the article, and Ashley, tell me your guys' experience when you first heard about this deer, and then, he was on some podcast and stuff saying his story, and then there was some controversy. I think, from what I remember, like a district attorney or something said the buck was on his property, and there's no way that CJ shot it where he said he did, and there was lots of stories. So Ashley, go ahead. What'd you hear about this? Is Ashley frozen now?
We lost her again.
Yeah. Dan, go ahead while we're waiting. I don't think our connection's great today.
So for me, I didn't really pay too much attention when he first shot the buck because there's a lot of big bucks that get shot. And, it's the same thing over and over again, right?
Yeah.
So when I started noticing is when people started saying controversial things. I didn't know about it being a district attorney. I remember a bunch of people saying it lived on some, I don't remember if it was graveyard or something, but someplace where he couldn't hunt. And there's people saying they had pictures of this buck, and he couldn't have shot it where he shot it or whatever. And there was a lot of people giving him a lot of hell. And I said that people should give him the benefit of the doubt till he's proven guilty. I saw no evidence that he did something wrong. And it seemed like they were trying to railroad him, but if there's guilt and if they have evidence, they'll find it, they'll get him, which is basically what happened. I believe they got him with phone records. They pinged him like they do with murderers and stuff, where his phone was at the time that he shot it, and got a hold of his subpoenaed his text messages and stuff.
Yeah.
But
well, I got the article pulled up here now, Dan. It says CJ Alexander pleads guilty to 14 charges related to poaching giant Ohio buck. And the sub-headline here is, after doubling down on his innocence for months, Alexander has pleaded guilty to more than a dozen criminal charges. Like you said, Dan, court documents contain a trove of text messages and references to GPS location data that supports poaching charges. And they've got some of the quotes here, I'm assuming from the text messages. No way they'd see me. I'll hide if I have to. Snapchat location data. Everybody thinks Snapchat's anonymous. Shocker, it's not. Revealed CJ Alexander was hunting on property without permission, waiting for, quote, Megatron. I think that's what he had named the buck. He stole one SD card from one or two trail cameras. This is a quote from him. I'm going to get offered stupid money for this deer head, babe, and like buying a house type money. So he knew if he got this buck, it was going to blow up and that someone was going to pay him a lot of money. There's the antler head collectors. And I think I remembered saying that this was going to be like the number 3 buck or something, maybe of all time. So you guys can read this. It's on Outdoor Life. You can read it, but I want to scroll down to some of the charges. Where'd they go? I thought they were on here. Maybe not. It was on here somewhere. Maybe I scrolled past it. Anyways, there's 14 charges that he's facing. Oh no, the charges are on the we got another poaching article. They're on that one. So anyways, it says, in the damning about face on Tuesday, CJ Alexander pleaded guilty in Clinton County Court to 14 criminal charges for poaching one of the biggest whitetail bucks in Ohio history and fabricating an elaborate story to cover it up. A clerk of courts confirmed the guilty plea with Outdoor Life, but was unable to share the details of Alexander's plea before courts closed Tuesday. So this just happened. That was literally yesterday. It says Alexander was indicted on 23 criminal charges in June for allegedly poaching the buck, which was also in the running for the 3rd largest all-time typical whitetail in Boone and Crockett record book before it was confiscated by Ohio Department of Natural Resources in December of 2023. Alexander had maintained his innocence after the ODNR launched an investigation into the buck, and he doubled down on his innocence after his criminal indictment was handed down by Clinton County prosecutors in June. Alexander shared his story behind the hunt for the Alexander buck with Outdoor Life in December, a little over 2 weeks before the antlers were confiscated by ODNR. He told Outdoor Life that he had killed the 200-plus inch Ohio behemoth using a borrowed crossbow while hunting on his sister's 9-acre property in Clinton County. That's the same story Alexander has maintained in public for nearly a year, one that seems to be unraveled by investigators who gathered a pile of evidence in the form of cell phone records and metadata, according to court documents. So there you go. Turns out there's I mean, he pleaded guilty, right? So there must have been a pretty convincing case. And it did say later in the article, we don't got to read the whole thing, but it did say later in the article that the prosecution shared that information with the defense. So they must have given it to him and basically said, hey, we got you. Plead to these charges. And, you know, this is as good as it's going to get.
They made a plea deal.
Yeah.
They made a plea deal with him, basically. So they said, here's what we'll do. You know, plead guilty and we'll give you X. Plead innocent and we'll go after you with this. And he probably wanted to avoid jail time and some serious money. Like a lot of times they'll charge fines where they go by the Boone and Crockett score, and it could be, you know, unbelievable money. Like he was talking about house money, he might end up owing house money.
Sounds like it. And honestly, I mean, personally, this is just my opinion. People can agree, disagree, do whatever you want. A lot of these poaching cases I read, and not this one specifically, but you know, you read the local ones when I was in Michigan or Montana or whatever, and you see the fines. A lot of times I think that's it. Like that's all they had to pay was $1,200 or $1,500 or whatever it is. Now I'm not saying these things should be end your life money, you know, like $1 million or anything, but they should send a little harsher message, I think, than they do with $1,000 fine or something. So, and,
I mean, they're grown adults consciously making a decision to break a law and to continuously lie about it. So like in the end, like if it is break your bank money, like you consciously chose to make that decision knowing what the repercussions of your actions are. Like it's hard to feel bad at that point.
I think it should be somewhere in between. Like Jeremy, I kind of laugh at somebody that like shoots 14 deer out of season or runs them over with a snowmobile laughing or something and kills them slow and gets a $1,400 fine or something. And it's like, really? No jail time, no nothing. He lost his license for a year.
Right.
But, you know, at the same thing, I mean, if you give somebody like that $100,000 fine because of the score of the deer or something, or a restitution of $100,000, now the guy's screwed for life. And I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, but he's probably going to go down a path that ain't going to be good. I think if a guy can't be corrected, yeah, but I think something like an adequate fine would be like, you know, $5 or $10,000, not you know, take his wife's house away and his kid's house away and his car and everything else.
No, I mean, I get that.
He's already going to be shunned by everybody. Everybody's going to hate him, make fun of him. They're never going to forget what he did. You know what I mean? In my mind, I guess it's more so the ones that are like they're trying to make money off of it. Like that bothers me. Like the ones that go on all the podcasts and then they like sell the buckhead and it's I don't know. Those ones just really bother me.
Yeah, that's this case. It's a pretty egregious case. And if you read the details, it sounds like from there. And again, we don't have all the facts. So I'm just going off what I read on Outdoor Life. So if other things come out to be true, then, you know, we'll change our tune here. But it sounds like he had a deliberate plan to, 1, trespass on a property, 2, hunt this buck, 2, to stage it like he shot it somewhere else, and then 3, his whole point to shooting it was to get the fame so he could sell it, you know. So like that's a lot of the worst when it comes to, you know, it gives honest hunters a bad name. So that's the biggest reason that I really hate this stuff, is because you got guys out there, 95% of guys, at least I'd like to think, or more, 98, whatever the percentage is, guys and gals actually, are following the rules, are honest, law-abiding hunters. And then this is the stuff that the anti-hunters see, and that's what drives me nuts. Is like, oh, look, these hunters are out here bloodthirsty, money hungry, and they're killing for fame and antlers, and that's it. And it's like, that's not it, but that's what gets the publicity.
You're always going to have that. There's going to be a certain fraction, a certain number of people who want it so bad that they'll go to any means, which in a lot of cases means cheating. I mean, you have that in everything. I mean, you have people who cheat in sports, by taking, you know, drugs to enhance their muscles or whatever. You have people that cheat in every manner, shape, or form, you know. So I don't think there's any way you can get away from it. All we can do is make sure that, you know, the rest of us, you know, live honorably and set an example, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody isn't out, doing some outrageous crap, you might want to turn them in.
This is a great plug for Beast Gear. So if you want to shoot the next Boone and Crockett world record, make sure you got a Beast Gear camera arm and you film it. That way no one can dispute. Dan, I know you've said before part of the reason, and I know it's not the only reason, but part of the reason you film your hunts is because you've been accused of being a poacher before, right? And that's one of the great things about video is you have it on video. It was during daylight. People saw you shoot it with a bow. If it came down to it, you could take a warden to that spot and show them on video, hey, here's the surrounding, right? Here's what it looks like. So if you're in the big buck game, there's something to be said for self-filming. Even if you didn't share the footage, it'd probably be a good idea to film.
Yeah, and if you shoot a lot of big bucks, people are going to point fingers at you, and kind of rightfully so. And that might sound kind of harsh, but if you look at the top guys in hunting, I mean, like the top 3 guys with the numbers of Boone and Crockett's, that Mark Anthony guy, Andre D'Acquisto, all those guys got busted for poaching and got all their deer taken out of the record books. Like the top 3 or 4 guys for the number of Boone and Crockett's in the book got them all taken out. And when you think about that, I can see why people would look at a guy like me or guys that are doing really well and say they're doing something. There's something up there.
Yeah. On the other side of that coin too, I feel like unless you are a law student and you're constantly reading the regulations every year, talking to the game wardens, like it's pretty easy to get hung up on something. If they want to write you a ticket, even if you're doing your best to follow every single law, it's like you're probably doing something wrong at some point.
Yeah, there is a difference though between making a mistake and sneaking on a property, targeting a buck that you have no permission anywhere near there and shooting it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's things that I do that are you find out you did something illegal. I think that's with everybody, if you're honest. I mean, just last week I was on a property and I was watching my app as I went in. I set up. I knew I was close to the border. I got in the tree. I looked down on my app and it says I'm on private. And I'm like, well, the fence is over there, And I got down and I moved. But you could get caught doing that and get a fine out of it. And for me, that would not look pretty. You know what I'm saying? So if you're somebody in the industry, you really have to be careful. I think they're more willing to give Joe Blow, who hunts every other weekend, and a break. But if you're toting yourself as some sort of expert, they expect you to know the rules and follow the rules to a T. You know what I mean? They make an example out of people that are in the industry. But there's a huge difference between being 12 feet over a borderline, an accident, or or the guy who is afraid if he asks he's going to have his deer taken away and he sneaks on a property to get his deer, that he shot legally somewhere else, than somebody, spotlighting and shooting them, that's why we have judges, because there's different degrees of what people do.
110%.
Yeah. Speaking of spotlighting, Dan, it's a hot time of the year for poaching. Apparently, we got one other article that you sent me that we're going to share. So
yeah, this one's right in Eric Jeski's backyard.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So this one's titled "Wisconsin Deer Poaching Scheme: Charges Referred for Woman in Teens," and this is the one that had the charges in. So I'll read some of this. And just so you know,
this one's kind of crazy.
This is Fox News, and this is their ad. I don't have any control over the ads here. Just so we're all clear on that. Anyways, the brief says criminal charges have been referred against a woman and 3 teens in connection to an alleged deer poaching scheme. Investigators believe, quote, well over 100 deer were shot and or killed from late spring 2023 to July 2024. Additional evidence suggests the same people also targeted it.
There's 3 people, 100 deer in 1 year.
Yeah. Also targeted and harassed geese, raccoons, possums, and turtles. See.
Raccoons.
Yeah, I know.
Raccoons.
It says
Poor
most of the
baby.
activity happened after
Right.
dark and would continue well into early morning hours of the next day. The sheriff's office said the suspects drove around with a spotlight, shining the fields. When a deer was spotted, the suspects would allegedly fire a rifle from the vehicle at the animal. Many of the excursions involved shooting multiple deer in one night. It is believed a deer was shot. The sheriff's office said the suspects would go into the field to identify the sex of the deer. Most of the animals they found dead would be left to rot where they lay, but the heads of some bucks were removed, particularly when the buck had large antlers. Other deer were wounded but not killed. Here's a map. So looks like it's North Washington County, southeast of Fond du Lac. I don't know if I said that right. I don't live in Wisconsin. Forgive me.
So they're just literal monsters.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
So-
and it's this woman is taking these kids out doing this,
That's awful.
and you think 100 deer in 1 year with spotlights and a rifle out of a car window. I can't believe they could even get away with that.
right.
I mean, a
that's
rifle goes off in my backyard. I'm out there to see what's going on. If they come
Right.
back, I'm going to catch them. They go out to check what it is. I'm going to catch them. I can't believe they got away with all this. And the thing is, this is just the tip of the story. It gets way worse.
yeah, so you can read the full story, but there's stuff about them taking wounded deer, putting them in the trunk of the car. They were grabbing fawns and taking selfies with them, like all sorts of weird stuff. Here's a list of the full charges. So it says the sheriff's office provided the following list of alleged criminal and civil DNR violations involved in the investigation. So mistreating animals resulting in death, possession of a dangerous weapon, hunting deer with artificial light, hunting during the closed season, possession of a firearm while shining, possession of deer during the closed season, loading or discharging a firearm in or from a motorized vehicle, discharging a firearm from or across the highway or within 50 feet of the roadway, hunting within 50 feet of a road center, transporting a loaded firearm. Whole list of charges here. Obstructing a conservation warden. So if you want to read the full story, just Google Wisconsin deer poaching scheme, and it'll pop up on Fox 6 now. But yeah, so these
that's like a whole other case other than just poaching. Like that's like a whole CPS case. Like I hope those kids are put in a safer position because that's not safe.
It's not just that. It's this isn't really poaching. This is just out murdering deer.
Yeah.
What bothers me about this is you see a lot of cases. Now I watch a lot of criminal investigations and stuff. And when somebody starts out like this as a teenager, it usually ends up
worse.
like if they don't get caught, they start killing people eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, they just get worse and worse and worse. And it's happened several times where you have people that would shoot animals and stuff, ending up they shoot people, they become a serial killer or something. I mean, there's something wrong with somebody's head. There was something in that article about these kids. They like ran a deer down with their vehicle or something, and I might be misquoting this, but it was something about they wounded it severely and then laughingly took it home and let it run around in their house for a day until it died.
yeah.
There's some sick individuals, and this adult woman was taking these kids out to do this. It's just unbelievable. And I think they didn't even physically get caught. I think somebody just knew about it and was so sickened by it they turned them in. If I understood it right.
It's hard to say if she's the one that manipulated these kids into being sick children or if these children were sick and needed help. Like that's just
She's
it's
probably
sick all the way
complicit.
around.
Yeah, she's probably complicit. I would imagine there was other things going on outside of what was listed in that article, like probably drugs and sexual or something. I don't know, but there's something weird about that whole thing.
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah. Someone's asking how old are the kids, and it doesn't say in the article. I don't think it lists the age of the woman either. And normally this is whenever there's kids involved, normally, even if they're guilty, they don't mention the age of the kids to keep them anonymous. So.
I think I did see some ages.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I thought she was like in her 30s, and they were like in their later teens. I saw that in an article someplace.
Yeah, maybe.
I think it listed her name, but not their names or something.
Huh.
But she was quite a bit older. She was in her like 30s and they were teens.
Somebody said the boys were 16.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Got a couple super chats here from Andrew Vondolowski. First one was about the CJ stuff. Says, ballsy being on a podcast about a deer you poached. Deer deserved a better story. And he also says, hey, Ashley. So, yeah, I think, I thought about that too. I was like, man, it's crazy that he went on a podcast. But part of me said, if you shot the deer legit, wouldn't you be going on podcasts? Like, not everybody. I mean, there's certain guys that just keep to themselves. But I think a fair amount of people, especially if it was legit and they knew the money and whatever, if they were trying to make a name for themselves in deer hunting, probably would. So maybe it would be more suspicious if you didn't go on. I don't know. So I guess I can see both ways there.
Yeah, I think it's kind of ego driven. It's a personality of that type of person. There's the other kind of person who shoots a deer and likes to keep it quiet. You know what I mean? Doesn't like to tell anybody. Somebody locally by me shot a buck just recently that was over 200 inches. And man, nobody seems to be able to figure out who this guy is. But a lot of people saw the deer when he took it out. And seen it around town a couple times when he was like getting it. But now we can't figure out who the guy is or anything. Where, a lot of times somebody shoots a 200 incher, it's like world news in 15 minutes before he even gets it home.
Right.
The world knows before his wife knows. It's a matter of the way they're driven. And a lot of those guys that are poaching for fame are ego driven. They're about making a name for themselves,
Or in this case, deliberately trying to shoot it to make money, it sounds like, which is even crazier, I guess.
That's just the wildest thing to me. Like, I'm on the same boat as, like, if you poached it, like, why would you immediately go to, like, I get you guys say ego driven, and maybe it's just where I don't understand and I don't have that part of me there that I don't fully understand it. But I wouldn't be ballsy enough to be like, here's this deer that I illegally shot, even though I'm trying to prove to you that I legally shot.
You're going to leave that part out.
Right. But like, it's gonna come out in the wash eventually. Like, why? I don't know why you would put so much pressure on it. Like, I don't know. It just, in my mind, I'm with Andrew on that whole questioning thing. Like, I get egos and stuff aside, but like, it's just such a big leap for how many people knew about that buck.
Yeah. And
honestly, when guys shoot these world-class deer that like in the top 10 or something, there is almost an unjust way they go after you, like they just assume you did something wrong in a lot of places. Not every state is like that, and it's getting better. But I mean, there's a lot of articles written about how you're supposed to call a warden after you shoot it, have them come out and go to the deer with you and stuff. And I really don't want to have people parade in and see where I hunted and where I shot this stuff. But right. I do videotape everything, so I have proof. But I've seen where guys have gotten in some issues where I thought they were totally legit. I remember one in Ohio, I think it was, where it didn't seem like the guy did anything wrong, and they were really fishing to try to prove something. And because he couldn't prove he was innocent, it seemed like he got railroaded. But you see that a lot with these guys. But then again, you also see a lot of these guys that shoot these world-class deer and they're poaching. Because literally there are places where deer can grow to that size because you can't hunt there.
Yeah.
I would at that in Kentucky where I was hunting, they have a bombing zone you can't go in. And there was a guy down there in Kentucky who was shooting world-class deer. He shot 2 deer over 200 inches. And the wardens and the military police figured out that this guy was sneaking into this bombing zone where nobody can go. Not only is it like off limits for you to hunt in there, nobody goes in there. The military doesn't even go in there because there's like live ammunition and stuff in there that's been from bombing that didn't go off and stuff all the way from back way before Vietnam. So nobody can go in there. And here this guy was sneaking into the middle of that and shooting these bucks. He shot 200 inchers in there. And I mean, he's shooting deer like there isn't even a deer like that on anybody's property anywhere around there. How's he getting them?
Right.
So it put a red flag on them, and then they look at them. So when you do something extraordinary, it is going to make people look at you.
Crazy. Yeah. I mean, that's not the spirit of hunting that I'm interested in. Like I said, gives it a bad name, but I don't know. People, if you can dream it up these days, somebody's doing it, good or bad. We got a super. Yeah, we got a super chat from Joe. He says, "Can you get a shout out for his daughter Genevieve who just shot her first buck during the youth hunt? So congrats, Genevieve, and his son Mitchell.
Genevieve.
Yeah, so Mitchell and Genevieve, thanks for
Mitchell
watching.
Too?
He didn't shoot a buck, but he loves the show. He says.
Yeah.
Well, congrats, Genevieve, and hey, Mitchell.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're gonna do one or two more things before we do. We got a ton of people on today, which is awesome. Usually we got 300 or 400 people on live. We got 600 people on today. And we're going to continue the Lathrop & Sons insole giveaway. So I got the samples here. So today we're giving away this guy, which is the new product from Lathrop & Sons, the non-typical insole designed to keep your foot warm and more supported in rubber boots. You can learn all about it here. Let me share the screen. At the Lathrop & Sons and Beast Report giveaway. So there's a link in the description of this video. If you want to if you want to win today, all you have to do is pick a number. Let's go 1 through 625. I'm going to send Ashley the number. And the first one to get the exact number, or the closest one to the number without going over, will win. And then we'll need, we'll wait at the end, we'll announce the winner, but we'll need your name, email address, boot size, and phone number. And I'll get that to Steven at Lathrop & Sons. And they'll get you a set of non-typical insoles. So we gave away one last week. This week, we're going to do one more next week's show. And then in November, we're doing insoles and a gift card, I believe. I got to double check that. And then we're going to do 2 sets of insoles and a gift card in December. And then at the end of December, they're going to give away a set of boots, which is pretty awesome because they're very nice boots. And hold on, I'm just sending Ashley the number. And yeah, awesome boots. I wore them all elk season. Came over from Kennetrek, which is also a nice boot, and I prefer the Lathrop & Sons. And I paid for them with my own money, so I'm not just. Best boot I ever wore. I'm not just saying that. And one thing I will say too, if you have a wide foot, which I have a wide foot, I tried to wear like Crispies and stuff like that. I can't find a pair of Crispies or Vask or Lolas, any of those that'll fit me because my foot's so wide. So it was basically Kennetrek or now Lathrop & Sons. So if you got a wide foot, check them out. Great fitting boot. And their Synergy insole, which is the other one that's designed for their mountain boots. So like this is their Western boot insole. Amazingly comfortable. It's kind of like gel, but supportive still. Anyways, so.
Do you have a wide foot or a Flintstone foot? Is it flat and like wide?
It's not flat. I do have an arch, but it's very wide. I wear a 12 and it's like a 4E, so super wide, like a brick. Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out because like girls' boots are. I'm trying to find wide boots, and that was why I asked.
Yeah. So
you can work with them at Lathrop & Son like I did because my feet are kind of weird shaped and they're furry and they got claws. So they had me trace my feet and then
this.
So you know I got the one big club foot and the small foot, and then the third foot, So they had me trace my feet and were able to come up with my boots. And I love my boots. They're the best ones I've ever had for hill country and stuff.
That is
in the swamps. I'm in rubber boots, but in the hill country, man, because you need an ankle supporter. I'll roll my ankles, and then somebody's gonna be carrying me out of the hills. And Eric really doesn't like that.
Yeah, that is a service they offer. It's like a full custom fit. You can get on the website if that's something you're interested in. But I just bought the off the shelf mountain boot, and I've been real happy with that. Let's see. Got a bunch of numbers rolling in here. So while that's going on, Ashley's going to keep an eye on that, and we'll see if and when we get a winner. If we don't have a winner on the hour, so that'll be 9 o'clock Central. We'll take the one that's closest to at 9 o'clock. But
there was a couple questions too. Do you care if I snag those real quick?
yeah, go ahead with questions, and then we're going to wrap up with what Dan's plans are for the second half of October, and we'll do a little tactic talk if we have less. But go ahead with the questions.
Alrighty. So Brian Griggs was wondering if you've seen that big buck again that you kicked up the other day.
The one that I kicked up that I talked about last, I really haven't gotten back over there very much, which might sound ridiculous, but I got into some other stuff. That's been pretty good. I almost killed a buck a couple nights ago. I found an area that has a lot of bucks, and I've been kind of trying to stay out of there a little bit and just go in at the right timing. But I snuck in there the other day, and he wasn't in the bedding area, or one of the bucks wasn't. He was bedded watching the scrape. There's a giant scrape there that a bunch of does are visiting, and he was actually watching it, which is usually something that happens later. But we do have a little earlier rut here in southeastern Wisconsin. But I kicked him out of there at 3 p.m. watching that scrape, and then some other deer came in, but they came in from behind, and I kind of figured out what was going on there, and I had to get back out, sneak out of there after dark without spooking as little as possible. And I did. I had a cell cam, and I put it over that scrape, which is a no-no, right, for me. But I wanted to see what was going on there, and I got 5 different shooters on it, which I was pretty excited about. Usually I'm onto one spot, so I'm kind of concentrating on that area. But with that said, I haven't been hunting there a lot. It requires a good wind and stuff, and I don't want to give too many details or people figure it out. But I have been hopping around properties all over the place. So if you're seeing my trucks, you'll have to guess. But I would like to get back to that property that the guy asked the question about is talking about. I'm sure it would be pretty hot right about now. Everything's been moving really well. This morning going to work with the cold weather we had, it was like in the 20s this morning. It was actually below freezing. And I had 4 different bucks walk in front of me on my way to work, and there's dead bucks all over the highway. So they're starting to move. You know, it's a little early, but usually, you know, that last week of October is really hot here. But I usually say in this area around October 15th, I start seeing them shift towards, you know, the rut, the does and stuff. Not necessarily that they're rutting, but they're starting to pay attention to what's going on. They're starting to lay scrape lines, rub lines and stuff, and they're starting to get a little more huntable. You know, they're moving. You know, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Dan, you need to get a partnership with like Hertz rental cars so you can have a different car every day.
Yeah. That'd probably help.
Could you imagine how they would get returned? I've watched their videos.
Yeah.
Missing fenders and bumpers and
I'm always like, you want to borrow me this nice new one? Yeah, don't you like this? It's a nice. Yeah, I really don't. You have anything like a 1986 van or something? I don't want to pay for all the damage. You won't notice.
All right, Grant Henderson has a question that I am not going to understand. So if you see question marks in my eyes, that is why. It is about metals, I'm assuming. He says, Dan, 6061 T6 versus 7061 T6. Forged versus cast. Curious what the deciding factor was in the metal choice in the B stand. Also, have you seen the Magnite material and what are your thoughts?
You know, a lot of people go with the 70 series aluminum because it's a little better grade. but it's very expensive, very hard to get in mass quantities, and it's not that much of a difference. It's a slight difference, probably not even noticeable. 6061 grade aluminum, aircraft grade is extremely good aluminum, and I think that's fine for anything that you're doing with tree stands and stuff. We're not building rocket ships. An upgrade from that would probably be like when you started getting into titanium or something, you know. But as far as aluminum, I'd go with the 6061. Cast or forge, I wouldn't go with that because you got to bulk it up because it's brittle because of the way they harden it. So and the way they put it together. So 6061 extruded has a grain to it, so it can flex, it can bend, it can move around, and not break or crack or whatever. But cast doesn't take the shock, so it'll crack or and you have to bulk cast up so that it's stronger. So you have to make it heavier. You have to add more material. So the extruded aluminum is the way to go. Whether it's you can weld it, you can or machine it or something. But obviously, I'm the only one with a patent for machining it.
And then he was wondering if you've seen the Magnite material and what your thoughts are on that, if you've seen it.
If it's what I think it is, it's yeah, I'm not sure. I don't want to quote something I don't know what I'm talking about.
All right, that's fair enough. We're getting to numbers. Have we found a number yet, Jeremy?
I have not. No.
Okay.
Nope. I haven't heard of Magnite either. For whatever that's worth, I'll have to look into that.
Mike is wondering, Dan, do you remember your first compound bow and what model it was?
The first one I owned, I don't because it was used. I bought them at like garage sales. I believe it was a bear or something. Maybe the bear whitetail hunter or something. Oh, I take that back. It wasn't. I don't remember the model, but it was a real cheap one that my brother bought for me. No, my first one was from a rummage sale. Then my brother bought me one. But those were cheap ones. When I finally bought a bow for myself, it was where I bought a new one for my first one. It was a Darton Viper. You never forget the name of your first one, right?
That's right.
So that one killed a lot of bucks before I ran over it with my truck.
Is Darton the one that has like a lot of patents and a lot of the bows pay Darton?
What's that?
Is Darton the one that has like a lot of the patents and a lot of the bow companies pay Darton for the patents?
The cams, yeah, they got the cam patents, and just about every bow manufacturer is paying under their cams.
Okay, I thought so. I heard something about it not too long ago, and I was like, wait, is that the same
that might
one?
be. I don't know if that's still going on because it's got to be getting close to ending. A patent only lasts so long; it lasts like 20 years.
Oh, okay.
So it's got to be either expired or getting close to it.
Are they allowed to renew it?
What?
Are they allowed to renew it or anything like that, or will it just be done?
It's just done. Once you're 20 years, you what you get with a patent is you get a 20-year head start on everybody else.
Okay.
So right now I have the patent for water jetting or machining any platform. The trouble is, I mean, we got to go through with our lawyers and stuff, whether we got to sue all these people because there's like 40 people copying us.
Oh my gosh.
So we got to figure out what we got to do about that. But they do that because you put so much investment and money into R&D and stuff like that. It kind of sucks to have all these companies just copy you and copy your R&D and come out with products, faster than you, or they have more money to develop things than you, and it's kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I can see that. That's there's a lot more that goes into what you guys do than I think anybody sees. They see you guys putting stuff out and they just expect it to come out like this. And then you guys are back there working your butts off and they don't realize what goes into it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. The amount of times I see when's the new this going to come out or when's the new that going to come out, it takes a lot of work.
Really, it's Mario is the one who put so much into it. He's put his whole life into those tree stands and sticks and stuff, and a lot of times I get all the credit, but it's he's really the one behind the scenes that's doing everything. I just get the credit because of who I am. I'm more into. I love the development of the stuff. Building the stuff and designing the stuff, and using the stuff. And after the flash is gone, I just want to go hunting.
Well, huge shout out to Mario for being the behind the scenes man then, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Jimbo Slice is wondering if you've done any morning hunts.
I've only done one, but I should be because the deer are moving and have been moving really well in the mornings all season this year. I mean, at first I think it was because of the heat. They were moving real well in the mornings because it was so hot in the evenings. But now it's getting to that time frame when they actually normally just move early. After the October 15th is when I start seeing a lot of morning movement. I do have some cameras out watching deer, and I'm seeing a ton of late morning movement. The trouble is most of the spots that I hunt would be very difficult to get in there in the morning and not blow it up. Some of them I can get away with it. But I usually work in the mornings and then hunt every afternoon. And then I'd like to be hunting mornings and weekends, and I'd probably start doing that soon. But there's this pesky thing called editing, and I have to do that part of my job too, or, I'm not getting videos out. But I could hunt in the morning, edit in the evening, and not hunt the evening. I could switch it up.
Sounds like you need to get rid of that pesky job.
Yeah. That's causing you issues there, Dan.
At least one of them.
Yeah.
Hunting Newbie said, Dan, while hunting the edges that lead into the marsh fields.
I didn't catch the question.
Yeah, you broke up a little bit. Repeat that one.
Oh, sorry. Hey, Hunting Newbie said, while hunting buckthorn patches, are you hunting the thick edges that lead into the marsh fields?
In a lot of cases, yes. They're usually not right in the buckthorn, unless it's super thick, younger buckthorn. They're usually where the buckthorn transforms into something, the edge of it, into the grass, into the cattails, into the woodlot, wherever there's a thick edge. Sometimes it's a canal or a river or something that goes through the buckthorn, but there's some sort of edge that you're determining is where they're moving from.
Got one from Zach Hattie. It says, anyone else have their vehicles or anything destroyed on public? I had my valve stem jam with gunk that made my tire go flat. Backfired on them because figure I must be on a big buck there. Dan, you ever been sabotaged?
I haven't, but I know a lot of people who have. I've been pretty lucky about it. I have a camera. It recently broke. I gotta get another one. But I had a camera that would film while I'm hunting inside the truck. And there were several times when I caught film of people doing stuff around the truck. I'd check it, but most of the time it'd just be people looking in the windows, probably trying to figure out if you're bow hunting or what you're doing. But I would suggest that everybody should have one of those. I'm talking about a dash cam.
Yeah.
Now they got them where they film both directions. Even if you're in an accident or anything, it's just it's your defense on what really happened,
Yeah.
But I like it just because if you get hit a deer or something, if you're going to get your truck damaged, at least you got some cool footage,
Did Ricky have one of those when he wrecked his truck recently?
What's that?
I said, did Ricky have one of those? Didn't he wreck his truck recently?
He did not, and I couldn't even get him to talk about his truck. He's such a stick in the mud with everything. He's like embarrassed about everything. I don't want to talk about it. People, they'll look down on me. You got to be able to make fun of yourself sometimes, and at least me personally, that's how I feel. He didn't want to talk about his smash truck, and he didn't have a video of it or whatever. But I always joke and laugh about that. Every time I hit a deer, I put the videos up, show everybody.
I trip over stuff in the woods all the time.
Hey, Ashley, message me who you got as the winner right now. We'll see if it's the same. We might have to announce this after we got so many guesses right away that the top part of the live chat disappears, so I can't see everything that came in. So I might have to go back and look and then post it in the comment after the fact, because I don't want to announce someone and then have it be wrong. So we are going to give them away, but you might have to give us a chance to double check the numbers here. Dan, while we're talking about that, let's get back to second half of October coming up. Things start changing in the woods. What's your plans here from the 16th to the 30th? What are you doing?
What I'm starting to see is the areas that got a lot of does that do have buck bedding. The bucks are starting to shift into those areas. They're starting to check on the does. They're starting to lay a lot of sign down. And fresh sign is huge. They're only on a pattern for a few days, and then they'll move and stuff. But when you find that scrape that's missing all the leaves, when the leaves are dropping, I was scraped this morning. That's what I had today. I went to a spot that I've been waiting to hunt on a south wind, and we had a wind shift. And I knew those bucks were bedding in an area for a north wind, and it was supposed to shift to south at around 2 or 3 or something like that into 4. And I figured those bucks would get up and they'd move from where they were. And I hadn't been in there all year, and I've been watching the spot. And it's a small spot, and there's like no parking there or anything, and people kind of miss it. And I've been going by there constantly. I've never seen anybody parked there. There's no tire marks in the grass or anything. So I ran over there today after work, and there's a car there.
Oh, no.
So I didn't want to ruin the guy's hunt, so I turned around and ran back. And I was already running late. I had to work late. So I get back, and I ran into a spot that's right, within 100 yards of a parking lot. And I always had it to myself, and last year some guys found it. And I didn't know if they'd been in there. I know somebody dragged a deer out of there like opening weekend. So I thought, well, maybe the guy that was in there got his deer and he's done. So I went in there, and they got a cut path going in from the parking lot. They actually trimmed it and everything. I mean, geez. So I don't know where the path goes to what tree they were hunting on, but I went to where I normally go to, where they come up out of the bedding on a point. And you could tell nobody had gone in there. But if somebody's hunting that, it's so small. Like I want to say 12 acres or something. That if somebody's hunting that, the deer are going to be damaged. So when I went up there, I noticed there was no rubs, no scrapes, no tracks. The trail didn't look used. And usually I'll jump a few satellite deer going in there. And I didn't do none of that. But I was like, either hunt this spot or I'm done, because I had basically, as I'm going in there, I'm getting to less than 2 hours to hunt. I got to set up a stand and stuff too, right? So I got up to the spot, and I still didn't see much sign, and I eased up to the trail that comes out of the marsh where I can shoot to, and it looked pretty worn. And I looked over, and there was a fresh scrape, no leaves in it. So the reason that's important is because that told me it was from this morning, because leaves were dropping pretty good. There should have been a bunch of leaves in there. The fact that it had no leaves in there told me there was a deer there. And I set up, and I had a buck come in the last 15 minutes. Never saw it or anything. It's really slipped in. It was dead quiet. I could hear a squirrel coming for a mile. I heard possums coming from 2 different possums come from way out. And that deer snuck in. So I don't know, maybe it heard me approach or something, because I get pretty close to him there. Like, so maybe it was leery or something, or maybe it was leery because of that other hunter. But all of a sudden I just heard something, and I kind of looked, and I was hidden pretty well in the tree I was in. And I just saw a tail bound in. I never saw the rack or anything, but it was headed right to the scrape. But my point was, in that long drawn out story, that you should be looking for stuff like that, a fresh sign now, because right now they're going to start laying sign, and they're going to advertise where they're moving, and they're going to move more in daylight. So now is a good time to walk those transitions, find hot sign coming out, touch the rub. Is it tacky? Has it just been made? Are the shavings laying on top of the leaves that are dropping? Or are they under them? Are the tracks real crisp in the mud? You can see the detail, the sharp edges and stuff. And hunt that hot sign, because those deer are getting on patterns where they're checking they're getting up, checking on does, and then feeding. The does aren't ready yet, but they're still going to check. They're still going to go over and just nose around and stuff. That's the kind of stuff I'd be looking for right now.
Awesome. No, it's good tips. And Ashley, what do you got going on for the second half of October?
I am going to try and get out. We found out that we're going to have to go a lot lower. So everything last year was up high. This year it's all down real, real low. We were lucky enough to hunt water sources last year, and the water sources are still pretty well dried up for the most part. They might have filled up in the last couple of days because we've finally gotten some rain, but we're just trying to find them. We know we're a big hub of doar, and we like to wait and save that for rut. So we're trying to stay out of that area right now. It's just trying to pick and choose spots, and we found some more people that own land around where we hunt, so we're going to see if we can actually get access. So we're still running through all that stuff and trying to talk to people and see if we can get some more access. As far as trees and stuff for us that's dropping, the white oaks and the red oaks aren't dropping as much. It's mostly black oaks. So anywhere we do find a red oak or a white oak, there has been a lot more traction there than the black oaks. So it's just finding the ones that are dropping. But the last 2 or 3 years, they drop heavy. And I'm assuming this is just the year that they're not really producing that much. So we've been having to revamp, because for the past 3 years, we had the same areas, same tracks, same hot spots. And this year it completely switched up. So it's been trying to figure that out. And we've been last minute. And we all know I didn't get ready until way later than I was supposed to. But it's been trying to figure that stuff out. And Justin's been getting out a little bit more than I've been able to. Hudson's been stuck to me. So it's been a little harder for Mom to get out. But Dad's been scouting for me in the meantime because I haven't had the time. But we're hopeful. And he's found a couple spots. And like I said, I have my rut spot. But I don't want to mess that up before time comes around. So I've just been trying to find workaround spots in the meantime.
Well, awesome. Oh, good luck to you and Justin for the rest of the season. Dan, you got anything you want to add before we wrap it up for today?
I was just going to say, did you see Scott's buck he shot yesterday, Scott Buckley?
I did see that on the internet. Yep. So we had Scott Buckley on a while back. Yeah, we might have to get him back on again. I can't remember. He posted 14 or 17 points or something. It's
yeah, he said it was one of his bucks on his property, not on the public, that he's got history with. So it'd be kind of interesting to talk to him about that history and stuff. And
yeah, so one of the biggest bodied bucks he's shot too, which he shot a lot of big ones. So that's saying something. Yeah. Yep.
That'd be fun to hear about.
And we had, again, we had a ton of people on tonight, a ton of members too. One more time, thanks to Andrew Vondolowski and Joe for the super chats, and then all the additional members.
Thanks.
Too many to name tonight, but thanks for the continued support. Appreciate that. Ashley and I are going to double check the numbers for the giveaway for the Lathrop & Sons non-typical insoles. So we'll do that, and then after I find the number, the winning number, I'll post that on the chat. And if we'll post the name too. So look for that and email the huntingbeastreport@gmail.com. Again, we need your name, your boot size, email address, which we'll have when you email us, and your phone number. So I'll put all the instructions in a pinned comment. So it should be at the top of the comments after this episode wraps up. So that's all I had for today. So Dan, Ashley, thanks again for coming on. Thanks for everybody for being patient. We missed our regular time because I was dying yesterday, but hopefully next week, Tuesday, 8 Central, we'll be back. And last weekend of bow season here in Montana, a lot of people don't know that our bow season ends early. So I'll be out. I got Friday off. So I'm trying to get out for 3 days this weekend. And then we got 5 days of no hunting. And then the following weekend, the rifle season starts. So we'll be, we'll be hopefully get one with a bow. But if not, I'll be chasing them down with a gun here pretty quick. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, everybody.